Okay, hey everybody. I'm here with two of my favorite ladies, Lulu and Ginny from Private Safaris, and they're coming from South Africa. They're piping in from Cape Town. And I know a lot of you have had a lot of questions. What is happening in South Africa? Where are they? What does travel look like? What does the landscape look like? And so we're just going to kind of chat today, and they're going to talk to you about what's happening on the ground, what the reality is, because it's always better to speak to people who are living it versus taking everything that you have from one source. And also kind of leave it open. I'm going to put their contact information in this chat as well, at the bottom of this post so that you can see and reach out. But first, welcome and thanks, guys, for taking some time to talk.
Thank you. It's always lovely to see you.
Good to see you. I wish it was in person, but someday soon.
It will be. It will be.
It will be. All right. So let's just start up. Give me a lay of the land. Like what? All right. You talk about like level 4, level 3. Like what kind of lockdowns? What kind of situation? And just tell me about normal life outside of just what the paperwork says. What you have to do.
So let me start with how my weekend looked like in lockdown level 4. Was it 3? It doesn't really matter to us at the moment because our life continues in so many ways, on so much normality, right? The masks we've all gotten used to, so that continues for us. But I spent the weekend in Stressful, which is the southernmost tip of Africa. So I spent the weekend there with the family, went to the beach, went for walks, went for restaurants, coffee shops, went to wine estates, had lovely wine by a place called Lomond, where there's a lake in front of you, and you can have some trout that actually is grown weird. They're right in that lake, so looked pretty normal. What we do have is the curfew. So the restaurants do close early in the evenings, and yes, we do have to wear the masks. And other than that, yeah, when you enter a supermarket or any kind of store, someone will stand there with their spray bottle and wants to spray your hand. And I know that it pretty much is back to normal in many ways. Lou,
whatever normal is.
Yeah, whatever normal is. And mask wearing is by now normal,
the spray bottle is normal now, and the mask is normal. So yeah, I use that word, but I think it's the same. I went to Trader Joe's yesterday. It was the same thing, in New Jersey.
Yeah. I think as well, like as a destination, we're really lucky because if you want to socially distance anywhere, it's in Southern Africa, right? It's you can literally go for, like Ginny was saying, she went to this most southern tip of Africa and was sitting by a lake, going to the beach. It's really when we say life is normal for us, we're lucky because we've got a destination where you can feel normal. You don't have to feel like you're in a sanitized bubble 24/7. But I think the one thing that a lot of people have said throughout this is, when I talk about South Africa and Namibia and the countries we work in, everybody has been so resilient and really just stepped up to, making guests feel comfortable. So everybody has adapted it as the new normal. There aren't people who are refusing to wear masks, and you don't go to venues or restaurants or hotels where things aren't, absolutely on point. And I think that's, one of the things our product team has done like an incredible job is just making sure that, every partner that we use is on the same page as us. So, when we say life is normal, whatever normal is in these days, but it's to make people feel as it's unobtrusive as possible, I suppose. That can be, you just have to do the basics, and then you can just get on and enjoy life in the bush or on the beach or up Table Mountain. So yeah, when we say level 3, it's always an adapted or a renewed, or something else has been jiggled around, but yeah, as Ginny says, life is relatively normal. We can get alcohol now in restaurants. It's just the curfew and the various requirements that we have to adhere to. But I think we're all quite keen just to carry on and do what we need to do to get people back into the country.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point about hospitality, because I think Southern African hospitality is always just over the top, and people always want to make you feel comfortable. But I think that they are appreciating guests more than ever because of the lack of guests for so long. So I think, they must be fawning over everybody that comes in and just really paying special attention. And I find that like almost everywhere I go too, but just universally in hospitality, people have missed. People,
And
you know,
that's, I think what's been amazing from my side is, you know, when we have these shifting realities and these shifting rules, just how everybody is jumping in and communicating and just making it happen. So like, you know, if, you know, curfew gets changed, it's fine. We can communicate with, you know, the transfer company. We can make sure that our guests are 100% comfortable, that they'll be able to get to their plane. There won't be any issues. You know, everybody's just leaning in as much as possible to make sure that when people are here, they're not worried. You know, we've got we coined the term COVID concierge, you know, so it's, you know, okay, you've got a person who'll make sure that whatever COVID requirements are necessary, coming into the country, leaving the country, moving between regional countries, are just taken care of, you know, so you don't have to worry. You know, you don't want to have that additional stress when you're in country. You really don't. You know, that's why we're here.
I love it.
So our team has all that information at their fingertips, so they know where would you have to go if you're staying at Deco Alpha. Would you need to leave via Johannesburg? We've got it waxed. We know who does the quickest PCR test. We know who's reliable and so forth. And that's just what it's all about, right? How to still travel in this time of uncertainty, because I think we need it more than ever. To go out there and to see places. And I know I'm itching for getting out there. That's why the majority of the private safari staff is vaccinated, because we're all itching to get back to that so-called normal, you know, and wear your mask, sanitize your hands, and be vaccinated, and off we go.
And it's funny because I was talking about like this to somebody else yesterday too. Like the minute that you get out, like it's, you know, we're so, I don't know, we see so much on the news, right? We see one picture, we see one frame, that one loop that's kind of like repeating. And then you actually go and you see life is really still beautiful. Like the world is still there. It's like you said, the lakes, the wineries, still operating. It's all fine. You know, and even airports, for better or for worse, especially in the US, they're swelled, they're crowded. You know, the only difference I see is masks. Otherwise it looks like any other day. And
I think as well, like the power of the media can go, you know, one of two ways, right? I mean, we have quite a variety of questions from our various clients of, you know, you hear the news in the press and, you know, it's not so great, or, you know, and I think all we can say is we just keep an open line of communication. And we, you know, with the recent, you know, protests in the country, we had clients in the region and everybody was absolutely fine. You know, it's always, I mean, not detracting from, you know, some real, you know, hard-hitting causes this country does deal with, but it is something that can be completely navigated and handled with absolute care and attention. So anybody in country or looking to book, you know, months down the line are 100% clear about what the situation is. And that, you know, as I said,
you have been stellar as far as giving updates, and we have passed along all of them to our audience, and anyone watching this would know. If you're watching our stuff via Private Safaris, very, very on top of things, always just giving more information than is requested. So, you know, when you're looking at the region, they are certainly the most not only creative, but also capable and connected on the ground. Now, what would you say to people who want to they want to travel now, but they're just not quite sure? Talk to me about 2022 and what kind of confidence people can have when
do it. Because I have to say, I mean, we look at 2020, we look at 2021, and we look at where we've always had, dare I say, shortage of safari availability. You know, it's always been in peak season. It's always been, you know, a juggle, you know, to get availability for people anyway. And obviously with all these bookings that have rolled over, the sheer nature, as I mentioned just now, that, you know, how great it is to be out in nature during these times. People are really wanting to just immerse themselves with, you know, space and open air and what have you. We are coming up against availability issues.
Love that. That's like the best.
I know. Yay.
Not a problem.
We'll take it. Yeah. But what it does mean, obviously, is, you know, if you are looking at, you know, having that holiday, or you're kind of going, oh, do I, don't I? You know, we've got, and Gab, you know, we've shared them with you. We've got COVID terms and conditions where we are very, very flexible. If you have to cancel for a COVID-related reason, we will not be enforcing cancellation charges. Obviously, if there are suppliers, and I have to say that's few and far between, that won't mirror those T's and C's, we'll be fully transparent about it. But there should be no reason why you don't try and provisionally book something in now, just so you can get your space. You know, and if, for example, for whatever reason you can't travel, because of COVID, then we'll be more than flexible. You know, we are offering refunds to all our clients that have had to cancel because of COVID, and we're really proud about that. You know, we want people to feel comfortable and secure and know that when you know, the destination is traveler friendly. I mean, now more than ever, it's so important. And we've really stuck true to that. So we're quite proud of that. But no, travel now, you know, or book to travel in the future. You know, it'll get communities and economies going again in areas that really need it as well. You know, you're doing good. It's money that's going to go to fantastic causes that obviously have been without for a very long time. So, you know, it's travel with a purpose for many people involved in the supply chain. So, you know, if people are wanting to make a difference, if they're wanting to really enjoy, you know, as I said, being out there in nature, it is a phenomenal way to invest.
Well, that's a huge thing. And what do you see, you know, because we are getting, you know, quotes and things are coming through, or what do you see as when you talk to suppliers, what do you see as trends? Like, where do you see people going, doing, what do you see them doing? Because I suspect it's not going to be major city stays. It's going to be out or maybe like private experiences. What do you see trending as far as interest from any market?
Natural socially distancing. I think that's the key word, right? So your safari, your stargazing in the middle of nowhere in Namibia, and again, the destination lends itself, right, to have that little bit of a mental break, get away from the hustle and bustle. So safari is definitely on the top of that list. Those little bit of more remote items. Having said that, Cape Town still remains a key part of that too, because the protocols, especially in South Africa, in the whole of Southern Africa, are very strong.
Yeah.
And that gives that confidence that people will still make sure that they enjoy Table Mountain. And there's a lot of creative ways of how people are also letting you now experience the destination. So we see a lot more active kind of requests as well. You know, let me hike somewhere, let me go through the, you know, visit a wine estate by hiking through it or cycling through it and so forth. And in Lou, for example, she's done recently the stargazing experience. I think you should also tell people about that one, because that is also just such an amazing way to get away, see something new, and do that with purpose.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was like hanging on every word when you were telling me about that. Just share a little bit about that too.
Well, it's a place in the Northern Cape, actually. We stayed at a wonderful nature reserve. It was actually a dark sky reserve, is what they're actually officially known as, a place called Roggeglyph. And they, essentially, there's zero light pollution. So on any night, we were actually there when there was what was called a supermoon, which I never knew even existed. So the only light pollution we had was this supermoon. So even then, I mean, the night skies were just phenomenal. We went on a fossil drive where my 4-year-old was walking through, and I was incredibly anxious. A field of fossils that were 250 million years old. Parental anxiety on super alert there. Where they actually take you back, you know, the history of the dinosaurs that roamed Southern Africa. And they show you the fossils, talk you through it, the volcano in the backdrop. So it was actually a really interesting perspective that I think we needed after the last 18 months, just to go, you know what, life does go on. It's been going on for millions and millions of years. You know, there are blips along the way, but in the whole scheme of things, you know, there's so much more to see and to enjoy. And it's a really stunning part of the world. It really, really is. And we've actually got a great itinerary that's coming out soon. We're working on a really nice special for kind of your travel bubble for stargazing in Sutherland. So that'll be coming out in the beginning of September, beginning of next month, based around that trip that I did. I mean, they also do wine. They've got the highest altitude, coldest altitude wine production in South Africa as well. So, you know, there's something for everyone. as Ginny was saying, that you can also do the cycling, the fat bikes. I mean, honestly, there's something for everybody, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere, and you're looking, at the most stunning night skies. So we're doing something around that. So we'll share that with you, Gab, at the beginning of September. But we also have an astrotourism itinerary, which we have shared, which takes in Namibia as well. So if people are wanting to be a little bit more adventurous and have a look around, we obviously have the observatory in Cape Town as well. So you can really make a whole routing out of it too, if people are really interested. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I'd recommend, just to get a little bit of perspective.
I love all that, between the wine and the culinary, and now this, the dark skies, and people seem to forget there's so much. And I think that there's been great positive news in light of all of the trauma. Your airlift has come back. Delta's coming back. We've got the United flight. We've got
Emirates has just announced they're coming back. Yeah.
All really important. You have a new minister of tourism, I see. So let's see what happens moving forward. All of that is really, really good, and
we're really also pushing for the digital PCR recognition. I think that's top of the agenda as well for a lot of the bodies that are lobbying at the moment, with this new minister saying, look, we need to make it as easy as possible. At the moment, obviously we need the paper, certified piece of paper, PCR, negative PCR tests 72 hours prior, but we're pushing for that digital passport just to make it that little bit easier for people, so they don't have to have that extra stress. So we know, as an industry, collectively, we know what needs to be done. We're really pushing towards it. And thanks to Biden, he's sent over a whole load of vaccinations our way the last couple of weeks. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's baby steps, but as a destination, it really is as COVID friendly as it can be.
I think so too, and the regions as well, because we also talk about Namibia and Botswana and Victoria Falls and all of that. I think that we should remember too, they have fared pretty well. I mean, sometimes, and that's the beauty of booking with the DMC too, is when people want to interconnect their itineraries, it can be really complicated sometimes. Trying to figure it out yourself, like what test, how many hours, how do I get from border to border? So that's really something that you want to go to a professional with, because even I, who knows what they're doing, wouldn't dare want to do that myself. I want somebody on the ground to help me.
Our COVID concierge. There we go.
Exactly. We're going to hold hands in those cases.
I hate that we have to brand it like that, but it's totally necessary.
Yeah. It's one of those things now, right? It's just, it just has to be done. I mean, I think something you said in a chat we had a couple of weeks ago, Gab, it's these things they're just a given. It has to just be easy. There can't be questions around what, why, and how. It has to be a process that is smooth, that is taken care of, and we just have to make it happen. And that's exactly what we do from this side.
Absolutely. And then I think my last question would be, talk to me about the value for the dollar, because I think that's really important to emphasize, especially for American travelers. I know the economy is a little shaky, but the good news is that when you bring travelers in, they're getting a heck of a deal, right? So I mean, tell us about things on the ground. What can people expect as far as meals and wines and all that kind of stuff? Especially, I mean, would you consider it one of the greatest values, I'd say, at the moment?
Ginny, I don't know if you want to jump in, or are you happy for me to chat? I mean, you're recently away.
Exactly. I don't know if I know the exchange rate by heart, but at the moment, I would say a really good bottle of wine, for example, will cost you $5 to $8, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then we're not talking the I'm sorry to say supermarket plonk. We're talking about the really, really good stuff. And the same goes with meals. And I think if we just look at the feedback that we receive from travelers all the time, is that the quality of food in Southern Africa, not Southern Africa in general, is absolutely amazing. So I moved to South Africa in 2006. I'm not originally from here. And you'll have a hard time not to gain weight, actually, because you constantly are meeting the most hospitable people who love to share their culture. And South Africans share culture through food. And the amount of restaurants that are here that are top rated. When I used to live in Europe, one of my favorite things to do is to test out restaurants. So I continue that obviously in South Africa as well. And they can definitely hold their own with the top rated Michelin star restaurants. You might not have them rated here because Michelin hasn't arrived here, and I don't understand why. But if they would, they'll definitely have their work cut out to test their way and eat their way through Southern Africa. So the quality food is really, really good. And again, it's extremely good value for money because the exchange rate is really, really strong, especially at the moment.
And I think as well, if I may, the impact of the dollar is also hugely influential out here. And you know, as a business and as a company, Private Safaris, we're 100% behind buying local and investing in local. And so, you know, where the dollar goes, where, you know, our guests' money is channeled, makes a direct impact in the communities that basically, you know, survive around hospitality and tourism. So, you know, I think everybody who comes here that, you know, that we work with and you know, create and craft these journeys for them, know that it's really making an impact and it's really making a difference. And I think that's such an important thing to say now. You know, you can see exactly where the money is going and how it's helping communities. And now more than ever after COVID, there is so much that's needed to be done. And so people coming and having a wonderful time and eating these, you know, incredible meals and drinking these fine wines, you know, can see, you know, the wine estate where the wine was made and where it came from, and you know, how many people in the community that supports, you know. So it's a whole story that's kind of crafted around that too. You know, you don't feel just like a consumer. You know, you come away feeling like you've really made a difference. And I think that for me is what is so incredible about the destination. You know, you can, it's humbling, you know, what you can experience and what you can see with the dollar whilst you're over here as well.
Yeah, just feeling like you're part of something. And that's why I think I've always connected so well, like with it, because I've always left saying, wow, I just like, I've added a million stories in my brain, you know.
Yeah.
Just from
the Ubuntu, isn't it?
Yeah, you know,
Ubuntu.
the people you meet and the stories that you hear from a driver, you know, if you just open your eyes and your ears a little bit, you know, you'll get much more. It's you know, much more than just a trip. But I thank you both for joining me, and I think that this is
Thanks, Gabs.
really eye-opening, and I think people can book with confidence. And I think, look, if you're not comfortable now, it's fine, but there are many, many opportunities for 2022. So now is the time to chat, to speak and to connect with the folks so they can create something amazing, because why not start your next year off with an absolute bang. All right, guys, I'll talk to you very soon, and we will have you back as things continue to improve.
Yeah. Thanks, Gab. It was lovely to see you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.